Hi, I'm Claire, and in the absence of Ben, who is sleeping in France at the moment, I believe, this is Personal Jinx, a derivative of High Jinx. So I am at the Reefton Distilling Company in Reefton. I drove all the way from Christchurch this morning with my wonderful friend Audsley. We drove through Lewis Pass, through snowy mountains, and Audsley was slightly nervous. I wasn't particularly nervous, but anyway, we're here to try this fabulous gin called Little Biddy, which is local, and I'm here with Nick, the distiller.
Hello everyone.
With our wonderful Kiwi accents. And so, do you want to just give us a short clip about Little Biddy Gin and how it came about and the distilled version?
Yeah, definitely.
See what I did there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the distilled version of how we came to be. So we're a small company on the west coast of the South Island here in New Zealand. Was set up to create jobs for local people here in Reefton, a small regional town that in the past has relied on the mining industry and also the dairy farming industry, but a lot of those jobs have sort of disappeared for locals. So our managing director, who was born in Reefton, wanted to come back and create something special for the locals so that they could contribute to the local economy by creating jobs, but also taking some of the beautiful fresh rainforest botanicals from around Reefton and the west coast and make them a part of our products here, and particularly our gins, and also draw on some local historical characters too, such as Little Biddy, who was one of our very first sort of gold mining people here on the west coast.
And really appealed to me because my middle name is Bridget and my childhood nickname was Biddy. So, you know, I have a slight emotional attachment to this gin before I even tried it, which was fortunately well backed up by the quality of the product because it's absolutely amazing. So I'm cheating a little bit. I have already tasted it, but for you guys, I will try and keep my reactions as they initially were, which is, as always, waxing lyrical and going on and on and on. So one of the reasons that I have always been so excited about gin is that for me, gin provides sort of a biome of the region that it's from. Because when you get the local botanicals and you know, distill them into an alcohol, you create a product that if I try a gin from a particular region, I don't just taste the local botanicals, but I feel the temperature and I smell the air, and I sort of, for me, it becomes a whole sort of scenario of being in the area and in the region. So I was really excited to try this gin because basically the flavor profile of this gin is the West Coast forest. So it's got some native botanicals, which are really interesting. And it creates a scenario in which you can feel like you are in this sort of rainy but very green sort of foresty humid region. So we are going to go to tasting first up the Little Biddy, the original, is that what you call it?
Yeah, this is our signature Little Biddy gin, the very first product that we had made.
And so the native botanicals that it's got are toa, horopito, which is like a bush pepper, tarata and rimu, and then Douglas fir, which is not native but introduced, but they're sort of distinctive botanicals that give that the scent and the flavour of the New Zealand West Coast forest, and particularly it's the wet forest smell. You know, when you've been in the forest and it's been raining, it's that sort of distinctive aroma that you get. So smelling that immediately, it's peppery, it's got sort of earthy spice to it. And then it's just wonderful. There is so much going on. There are so many layers to this gin. You've got, so on the surface, you've got the sort of the citrusy elements that was, I mean, for the sort of the old world gin botanicals, you've got the lemon peel, but you've also got, was it the tarata?
That's native lemon wood, which gives us a very sort of subtle citrusy profile, along with like a really nice sort of herbal essence, like a green, almost like a rich green tea.
Yes, exactly. And so you've got sort of this earthy, slightly woody citrus going on the top. You've also got the depth of that, the piney, resiny flavors, which goes so beautifully with the traditional idea of what is a gin and the juniper flavor. But also you've got the traditional gin spices. So you've got the cassia in there, you've got the licorice, you've got cardamom in there, but then also you've got this native horopito, which is this bush pepper, and it just gives you an exotic version of all of the characters that you would want in a dry gin. So it is just absolutely beautiful. And earlier, I cheated and I tried this in a gin and tonic with apple and a horopito leaf. And what I think is magical about this product is that you could garnish it so many different ways and bring out different elements of the gin. So it's really versatile. But for me, and you all know I'm a savoury gin lover, this is just absolutely wonderful because it is fundamentally, for me, this is a savoury, earthy, woody sort of product, and it's absolutely beautiful. So we're going to move on to the gold, which is special because it is made with, let's talk about the spirit.
Yeah, so the gold and our black label are made from essentially what is the base of a whiskey. It's a new make spirit that's been triple distilled to give, but it's also left behind some of that character of the grain. So we're really trying to leave that sort of profile of a new make spirit that is the base of the gin. So you get things like maple, caramel, banana notes being associated with the spirit.
What I describe it as, it was like alcoholic banana bread, which is another sort of nostalgic New Zealand product.
And then that's paired with some 13 botanicals as well, 5 of them being another 5 locally sourced botanicals that we try and source at the day that we distill, just to make sure that they're very fresh and vibrant. That gives it a really unique profile.
Yeah, so I'm just going to get in there. So the Little Biddy Gold and Black are sipping gins. They're absolutely beautiful, and I would not mess with them by putting anything else in them because that would be rude. Yeah, so on the nose you've got the caramelly sort of banana scent. And it's just absolutely stunning. It's so smooth. So on the palate, you keep that caramelly banana scent, but then you've also got sort of the spices. So you've got some nutmeg and pink peppercorns in there as well. So everything that's in there is giving it this sort of warm, sort of bakery spice quality, which goes so well with the flavour of the base spirit. So it's just an absolutely stunning product. I feel like this is not in a sweet way, an after dinner sipping gin. Like, it's just absolutely beautiful. And so the black basically is the difference between the gold and the black.
Yeah, so the key difference between the gold and the black is just essentially the proof. So the gold's 43% ABV or alcohol by volume, and the black is 46%. They share the same botanicals, but we do tweak that recipe slightly to pronounce certain differences between the gold and the black. So that gold's all about that sort of sweet, bright start. As Claire was sort of talking about, the sort of spicy banana cake, but also you get profiles of lime. So we use unique caramelised limes from one of our local towns here that really enhance that profile of the spirit, but give that really classic lime flavour to the gin. And then you get some of the more traditional flavours coming in with the juniper and some of that sort of sweet spice. And it also actually finishes with a wasabi note, and that comes from fresh West Coast watercress that grows in beautiful fresh spring water that we actually use to proof our spirits with. And then you finish with a delicate earthy note too, coming from licorice angelica, but also uniquely our native snow moss, which gives a really nice sort of sweet earthy profile to both the gins. And when it comes to that black,
this one's really exciting.
Yeah, that's our snow moss. And then that black, you get more texture out of that spirit too because it is a higher proof. So it's had less of our spring water proofing it, diluting it. So you get more of that sort of velvety smoothness and more of a character of the earthy profiles of those sort of volatiles coming from the botanicals.
Yeah, for me the black is a slightly more savoury product, and so if you are like me, a person who likes your sort of slightly more savoury gins, then the black is the way to go. But the gold definitely, the initial, the aroma and the initial hit was sweeter. The aftertaste is really dry and sort of spicy, which is lovely. So they're both such interesting products. So I'm just going to get in there with the black. Definitely earthier on the nose and less of that sort of distinctive banana cake aroma, but it's still there. It's there. It's just taking a back seat.
And what we really reserve for our whiskey drinker who likes a gin too, because it has that real malt character to it. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and particularly as we are planning to have whiskey available within 3 to 4 years, this is what we offer in the meantime, and people never find they're disappointed. They always enjoy it.
Yeah, it's absolutely delicious, and it's just so well balanced because it's got that sweeter aroma, but it's got the savoury botanicals, and it is earthy, and it is spicy, and there's just so much going on. It's like, I've used the term before, gobstopper gins, which I realised was actually incorrect, but I talked about, you know, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I used to think it was the everlasting gobstopper, but actually it was the chewing gum that changes flavour. But chewing gum gin doesn't quite have the same ring to it. But basically, it's that idea that you have this drink in your mouth and you get the aroma and then you get the front of it and then the dry down and the aftertaste, and it just keeps developing the flavour. It keeps developing and changing, and I feel like if you were drinking this over a period of time, you wouldn't be just one, it's not one sensation the whole time, it's going to continue to evolve. So it's a really special product. So, Little Biddy Gin is amazing. I'm having an amazing time exploring the New Zealand gin industry, and I have a lot more gin to drink. Please apologise to my liver on my behalf while I'm here. And yes, cheers everybody.
Thank you very much, Claire, for coming to Reefton and checking us out. Really
absolute pleasure.